Hey everybody, this is Kristen. I'm on my sketchy journey, and today we're going to take a break from downsizing and sketching while I show you the process it took, kind of the before and after, to paint this big beautiful girl. I call it sisters or siblings because of these three trees that stand right next to each other. They all look like cherry trees. I'm not really sure though. I've never found fruit on them. So they might be some kind of mock cherry, but the blossoms are very cherry-like and they're very tall. But they all just kind of stand together in my backyard in the spring. So this is a photo I took, or well, we're in the springtime, and I'm going to show you the process I got and how I painted it. So let's go. Now, there's an artist called Tim Packer. He's a Canadian artist. You can find him on YouTube, who suggested this particular method of beginning a painting. I painted the entire background with a quinacridone magenta. It was closer to crimson red looking to me, but that's what I painted this with. And then painted in all of my tree structures and branch structures in black. So everything that I'll be painting over this, instead of doing a poured background like I usually do, I'm going to be filling in the holes once I get these in. In that way, the red paint in the background, sometimes you don't go over it all, so it kind of glows through and adds an extra bit of shine to the painting. So right now I'm just painting in those branches, and it's a very tall painting, as you can tell, so I'm glad I have an easel that will lower and raise so that I can get to all of the parts of my painting without either standing on my head or getting on a ladder. But anyway, I'm putting in these ground structures, and the more branches you have, the more interesting I think the painting becomes. So that's the end of that part. And then I'm going to start filling in all the holes. I did time-lapse photos for this part of the painting. I'm not sure why I wasn't using my video cam at the time, but I needed it for some other reason. So I'm just doing a little bit of time lapse for how I started filling in those sections with sky and trees in the background. But now I've got the whole sky in. And then I added more branches because it just didn't look tangled enough. And then I started laying in the very fluffy little cherry blossom background. And then more cherry blossoms and more foliage that was near the foreground. And then I finally wrapped up with finishing the cherry blossoms and moving them down because that's the way they looked in my photograph. This painting is pretty and I like it, but it just feels a little dull because it has so much green and white in it with just little flecks of pink. And I don't like the light, even though you can see it coming from the right-hand side off screen, so I'm going to put in a sunrise. And either I'm going to mess it up royally or I'm going to make it look more interesting, but we'll see. Okay, so the first thing I do is put in a titanium white circle right where I want the sunlight to come from. I might add a little bit of yellow to the edges, but the center is full-on titanium white. And then I'm going to start going around with extra color, with light yellow first, and then light orange, kind of a yellow orange color, and then out further with red, and then out further than that with a magenta color, because I've realized that when you're painting light, you have to understand how it reflects off of the objects that it's shining through. And when it's shining through tree branches and leaves and stuff like that, it's really almost washing out those branches and leaves and even the sky behind it, which I'll start in a few minutes, with color and with warmth. And this painting definitely needed a little warmth. Now, when I'm doing this, I like to get the reflected color on the trees first, and then I'll go in and start painting the sky around it. And I'll do this in multiple layers, multiple times. So for somebody like me who has pretty heavy-duty, inattentive variety ADHD, This is a really good practice because I get in the zone and I tend to start hyper focusing, and I really, it quiets all the other noise going on in my brain that's trying to get my attention or make me anxious about something or make me feel bad about something or make me feel desperate about something, usually financial, and helps me just to chill out and relax and deal with those pressures by just giving myself a chance to rest from them for a little while. But I also enjoy this particular process because I'm not a super realism type of painter. I like more abstract looks, and I tend to like my sky between the branches to look a little bit like stained glass pieces. So none of them are going to be realistic as far as their tones. Some are going to be a little lighter from the sun, some are going to be a little darker, and they're going to be right next to each other, which wouldn't happen in nature. But I like that stained glass effect. It just adds brightness and energy to the painting, and it makes me feel joyful. So um, that's what I'm doing here. I'm just adding more of that light from the sun to the paint, and then I'll go back in and keep doing this until it gets bright like this. I just go over and over and over it. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to have a session where we just sit down and learn how to paint light. We'll do it in acrylic paints. I'm also going to be experimenting in trying to get really good light in gouache paint and in watercolor. Those are pretty new media to me though, so it's going to be easier, obviously, if I'm tutorialing and teaching you how to paint sunlight to use acrylic paint. But we'll do all of them if I find that there's enough interest in doing that. I learned this technique from Tim Packer, who does it a little bit differently. He paints in water-soluble oils. So my acrylic paints I decided to stick with and just do my own thing. I definitely learned from him. So if you want to learn how to paint sunlight through the trees right now, elsewhere, without a tutorial, go look up Tim Packer. He's a Canadian artist, and he has quite a few videos on how to do this. Many of them are years old, but go back through his YouTube videos. You'll find a lot of great information. Anyway, I just continued to make this as bright as I can, and just looking at that sun makes me feel almost like my dopamine levels are rising, even though it's not real. It's on a painting, but it was really fun. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoy this. Please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more of this content. I'm going to be doing a lot of sketching in the future and talking more about myself and my husband's big move in less than a year to France. Anyway, here's the finished product. I really enjoyed this. I hope you did too. And I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you soon. Bye-bye.